Happy Monday. I am so grateful that we get to celebrate this week, which is Veterans Week. What an amazing array of opportunities we have as a campus community to not only remember those who are here right now, our student veterans, our faculty and staff who are veterans, but also those that are no longer with us. Normally, in Veterans Week, we'd be over at the Memorial Chapel, honoring those who've lost their lives while fighting for our country. The Memorial Chapel is named for those individuals. But we won't be there because COVID-19 is taking its toll. But instead, in our hearts and minds, we will remember the grandmas and grandpas and grandparents that you may not have ever known who served their country, but also those who are in harm's way today, those who are finding their way into the military as ROTC members, and others who are out there in basic training, really doing it today. And we want to think about all of them. They may be your friends, they may be your siblings. But I am so grateful we have a chance today on this Monday, as we celebrate our veterans, to talk to two of my favorite. David Reese and Chris Luna both work in veteran student life, and we get to have a conversation with them about all the world that is veteran student life at the University of Maryland. Well, we're here in the Veteran Student Center, which is an amazing place to be, with David Reese and Chris Luna. And I am so grateful to you for taking some time to spend Monday with this Marsha. But I love the fact that you get to sort of share a little bit about you and then about all the veterans you know. So David, tell a little bit about you and what it is you do.
So I currently am the coordinator for the Office of Veteran Student Life. We are an office, in the Stamp Student Union, and our whole existence is about supporting our student veterans as they get out of the military, come into university life, support them while they're here, and support them on their transition out.
Which is something you know something of, because you yourself served in the...
Correct. I was an infantry paratrooper at the 82nd Airborne Division. I joined shortly after the attacks of September 11th and deployed to both Afghanistan and Iraq.
And what I love about you is that we plucked you from your graduate program at Georgetown to come join us because your heart was all about how do we help young people as they make their transition to civilian life and into education in particular. And oh my gosh, you do it every day.
Correct. Yeah, I was on doing my PhD at Georgetown. I was researching these issues on veterans reintegration and moral injury, and I just missed being around students, having that direct student contact. I'm a former middle and high school teacher, and so my passion is really working with students. So yeah, this role brings both of those together, working with veterans and supporting students.
Wow, and you are amazing at what you do as our number one advocate for our student veterans. You're joined with me today with Chris Luna, one of those student veterans. And Chris, tell us about you. Where in the world did you find your way from in order to get to the University of Maryland?
Yeah, I was in the Navy for 5 years. I got out last year in 2019 and decided to pursue a degree in international relations. And I figured UMD has a really good program and it's within the proximity of DC. So I got here and I just became more involved with the student veteran community because Veteran Student Life as an office has so much for us. And it really helped me out. And I decided I wanted to give back to the community too and help out. So I started working with Veteran Student Life as a VA work study earlier this year, and it's been really rewarding.
That's amazing. Do you think your career in international relations is partly related to those years you had in the service? Do you think that informed your interest at all?
Oh yes, definitely. When I was in the Navy, when you get deployed, you start thinking, why are we here? What caused this decision to deploy in this area, or what kind of policy led to that? So I really started looking into it and reading into it, and I decided I want to be part of the policy process and not just the actual policy implementation.
And I know this is Veterans Week, and I know there's resources that are regularly available, but there's some things that are happening this week that'll be a reminder to our veterans that they matter and that they're part of a bigger whole. So tell me a little bit about what Veterans Week and the weeks after will be about.
Yeah. So yesterday we kicked off Veterans Week with a ruck march and welcome lunch on the McKeldin Mall, and wonderful time to get together, be physically distanced outside. And then we have some other events coming up this week. We've got some smaller in-person events where we're going to take some student veterans axe throwing and get some people together and have a good time there. We've got some virtual events
Yes.
planned.
We're planning a watch party, specifically the movie The Outpost, I believe Thursday, and maybe a virtual happy hour, right? Then we have our Vets Reception video release on Wednesday.
Yep, we're going to release that on Veterans Day. We would normally have an in-person vets reception, 400 people, donors coming back, all of our 50 plus, veteran scholars. And this year, because of COVID, we're not able to do it. So we're going to be doing a pre-recorded event that we will release on Wednesday on Veterans Day.
What I love about those real events is that they bring people into community. And so part of it is those donors, those recent alumni, those World War II era alumni of the University of Maryland who all get to be in the room together. That won't happen this year, but I think you're right, Chris. The virtual connection via this film or other things will make all the difference in the world. You've really worked really hard this year to try to connect with people in a way we normally wouldn't, right? Virtually reaching out to people. We're here in the Student Veteran Center right now. This isn't open right now during COVID-19. So how are you making up for the gap of what this space would normally be in the lives of student veterans?
Yeah, and it's an interesting issue because in talking with students this fall and in this process of being attending class virtually and being physically distant and just pretty much staying in your apartment, as veterans we're all very good at that. Our time in the military has taught us to adapt and overcome and deal with, okay, this is how it is, so this is what we're going to do. So in one sense our student veterans are doing well because they've been good at adapting. However, they're also in this transitional phase of having been in a military unit with other people around and you're with your team and things like that. I always joke that when did you ever do anything alone in the military, right? Our student veterans a lot of times get here and say like, oh, I've got to put my head down and just do it. I'm like, no, ask for help. Like we don't do stuff alone, even now. And so we've with the Vet Center, this is a place where veterans can come and hang out. They have swipe access. They can come, have lunch, hang out, study into the evening. It's got a very much of an apartment feel. We have a living room, a kitchen, a computer lab, a study space. And so many interactions just happen very naturally and organically here when it's open. And so without having that, we've really been made aware how important that physical and in-person interaction has been. And so we've very much had to adapt and have switched from sort of just reaching out more widespread and very, very focused, reaching out to individual student veterans, checking on them. And that's been really, really important to just see how everyone's doing. Because even though veterans are good at this, adapting, they are also struggling with it.
What are you hearing from folks, that same sort of I've deployed once, I can deploy through COVID kind of thing? What's making it work for students and what could we do differently?
The virtual environment has been really challenging as well academically. So
Yeah.
that's one of the common denominator within the problems
Absolutely.
of all student veterans right now.
Absolutely.
It's not having a harder time to learn online since they're not used to it, and because they expected a more like an in-person interaction on their first semester, but with the pandemic that's not happening. So that's been the challenge, and we're, as an office, we've been trying our best to connect them to tutoring services and other online resources to help them out. But yeah, that's where we are at.
What I love about you all is that you welcome people warmly from the point of admissions all the way through your orientation program in the fall, and you'll do it again in January.
Yep.
As you welcome people to the University of Maryland community and really make them aware of rich resources at that point. One of the things I'm often reminded of is that you talk, Chris, about that resiliency. And I think that's where, in some ways, you can teach the rest of us lessons. I was mentoring a student, a young veteran, who happened to be in David's class in the spring when we all left campus. And what I loved about him is he constantly told me about, I'm thinking about this as deployment, Marsha. This is how we need to look at this. And he was my mentor and guide about being out of the workplace for 4 or 5 months. So I think you've got rich resources to share with the rest of us that are really important. But do me a quick favor, oh resilient ones. If you had to give 4 or 5 really good hints for all of us, that you bring with you because you're folks who've done this sort of pick it up and go somewhere else, act as a unit. What 4 or 5 things would you say to all our students, particularly our student veterans, we should be doing to take care of ourselves and to succeed academically, even in these really difficult times?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is realize and know you're not alone in what you're going through. I think as student veterans, that's a issue I see a lot with what almost universally across the board. Every student veteran I've ever talked to in my office that's come in because they've been struggling because they're possibly going to fail their Calc 1 class or something like that and have to retake it, and they come in with this feeling of like, well, that's it, I guess I failed and I'm done. And I tell them, I'm like, you have no idea how many other student veterans have sat in my office and said the same thing. And so, you're not alone. And so in this current environment with, COVID-19 and physically distanced and virtual learning and stuff, everything you're experiencing is not something wrong with you. It is something that we're all going through.
That's
we
right.
experience it different. We're going to have different ups and downs, but we're all doing it. And I think that's been one of the struggles too with us for our student veteran population being distant like this is we don't have those ways to show that, right? Because those conversations that would happen when people are hanging out in the vet center and someone says, "Oh, I'm failing my calc class," and someone else would be like, "Oh, me too," or I
That's
did,
right.
I'm been here 2 years, I failed it, I took it, and I'm good. So there's that sort of suffering and silence, that's happening that we're trying to work past. But yeah, know you're not alone.
Sure. Chris, any thought about if we had to give wisdom?
I would say to accept the fact that this is all temporary, this situation. So my advice is to take it day by day. It's
Great.
like we talked about resiliency and deployment. When you're deployed, you try to not worry about the long-term picture, right? Because maybe you're deployed for a year and a half or 9 months. Once you start focusing on 9 months from now, time goes by slowly. So my advice is to take it day by day or week by week. Focus on taking care of yourself, your academics, and know that this is all temporary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to thank you for what you do every day, but also on this week where we honor veterans, to let you know how proud we are of who you are today, but also who you have been in all those years leading up to today. I am reminded of a student I had in a freshman course, an Army medic, who I learned so much from, including when he wasn't exactly getting life right. And I think that idea that you bring some skills the rest of us will never know, of resiliency and honor and courage and strength and a commitment to others around you, that I know that every day you are there for our student veterans, but you're also there to make sure we build community in a way that's honest and credible and fair. And I'm so grateful to you for the work you do, but I also want to make sure student veterans can find their way to you. So you're located where?
We are, we would be co-located usually in the vet center where we are today, which is not open. So you can find us in person in the Stamp Student Union on the ground floor. We're around the corner from the food court in the engagement suite. We're open every day, 8:30 to 5. There's different staff in there each day because we're keeping physically distanced. So different staff are coming in on different days. But if you want to come by and see us, you can definitely pop in. You can find us online, our website, veterans.umd.edu. And you can go on there. You can find all of our email addresses and find our Facebook and all of those things. So definitely, if you're a student veteran who is out there who hasn't gotten connected with us, definitely get connected with us.
The last piece I would say is we're blessed to have big supporters of our student veterans, including those who contribute to our scholarships. And you think the GI Bill will make it all work for those who have access to it, but in reality, it takes more than that sometimes. And so apply for scholarships, right? When you see those applications coming up, do it, because there's lots of money to support our student veterans, and we want you to have it. So thank you so much. We are so grateful to you, and happy Veterans Week. And thanks a bundle for all you do every day, and particularly thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.